We are at the racetrack. We actually made it. Do me a favor, pause the video right now and put in the comments how you think this day is going to end. If you've been watching my channel for a while, you know what my luck is like. Let's see how it goes. All right, here we go, folks. It's been a couple of years. Let's hope I can remember how to do everything in here. All right, we're gonna look and see what the data log says, but I already know what it's gonna say. There's way too much clutch slip, so we need to tighten it up some. We'll put a half a turn into it and try it again. But let's go look at the data log and yeah, check the lie detector. So after every run, I keep a detailed log of everything, because I can't remember from 1 minute to the next, and there's so many settings and so many adjustments that go into these cars. First thing is, check my weather station, get the atmospheric conditions, and then we'll take the time card and record everything from the time card, and then we'll go through. My launch RPM was 58, my shift points were 6,000 RPM. For all gears. Tire pressures front and back. I got airbags, so airbag pressure left and right. Which calibration I've got in there. Of course, critical thing, what the clutch setting was. And then, traction notes, changes from previous, you know, and then any other specific, you know, problems or comments. So the clutch was too loose. So we're going to go and we're going to do a clutch adjustment. I'm not going to film that because I've already got a video for that. So look here for that procedure. But I'm going to get the laptop out, pull the race log data, and we're going to look at that, and you'll be able to see it very, very clearly. But we launched at 5,800 RPM. RPM only pulled down to 5,000, so it was slipping pretty bad in first gear. So we're going to put a half a turn, a clutch into it, and then try it again and see what happens. But I can't say that I'm not unhappy with the ET. I didn't expect this thing to go in 1192 with the clutch slipping that badly. And again, this is just the street engine in this thing, so that took me a little bit by surprise. 60 foot was a 160, which you know is pretty good again considering the clutch slip. So we'll see if we can get the 60 foots back into the 150s like it used to run in stock eliminator trim, and we'll see if we can actually get an 1180 something out of it, which would be just awesome. Anyway, let's adjust the clutch. Well, actually before that, let's pull the race pack data, look at that, and then we'll go and adjust the clutch. Here's our data log from our first run. The red line is our engine RPM, the green line is drive shaft RPM, and the yellow is the ratio between engine and drive shaft RPM, which tops out at 6. So when we're, you know, on the chip and we've got 0 drive shaft RPM, this would shoot off to infinity, so it's clipped at 6, and that's why you're seeing that. I've set the 0 timestamp where our drive shaft speed starts moving, so like that's the exact point that I dump the clutch and the timer starts there. So I've got a 5800 RPM chip in the MSD two-step right now, and you'll notice there's obviously some tolerance involved in that because we're 5900 and change when I dump the clutch. But going from 5800 and dumping the clutch, you can see the engine RPM drops down to not even 5000 RPM, and I've got a 3.29 first gear ratio in the transmission. So when we get to an engine to drive shaft ratio of 3.29 or 3, well, this is close enough. When this goes horizontal here at 3.29, that's when the clutch is locked up. So you see that between where we drop the clutch here and this point where it starts going horizontal, we're like 1.1 seconds into the run here. So we're slipping the clutch for over 1 second in first gear, which is way too much. You'll notice also on the 1-2 shift here, there's a significant amount of clutch slippage, and the RPM again doesn't drop down to even 5,000 RPM on that shift. Same thing with the 2-3 shift. So we're never seeing, you know, less than 5,000 RPM on any of these shifts because the clutch is slipping. So the conclusion here is the clutch is way too loose, and we need to tighten it up a little bit. So let's go do that and then make another run and see what happens. All right, here we go. Second attempt. All right, that's never happened before. That's probably a good thing. I've never launched the tach off of its mount before.
That must have been a good traction. Sign of good traction when you lose the tach.
It was better 60 foot than the last one, so.
Well, it's a weight transfer.
But I've never had that happen before. So I've never launched the tach off the mount before, and I got no idea where my shift points were on that run. So we'll have to look at what the race pack says. I was basically shifting by feel on that one. The race pack will tell me where I actually shifted. 60 foot was better. It was tach launching better. But the ET wasn't quite as good, so I'm guessing the shift points were off a bit on that one. Anyway, we'll look at the race pack and see what it says. Here's the data from our second run after putting a half a turn more back into the clutch. So again, red engine RPM, green drive shaft RPM, and yellow is our engine to drive shaft RPM ratio. So we're on the chip here, again supposed to be 5800 RPM, but we're a little bit higher than that, and we've zeroed out our data log to where we start seeing drive shaft RPM. So drive shaft RPM spikes up pretty quick here, so we've actually got some wheel speed happening here. We're turning the tire a little bit, which isn't necessarily a bad thing, but it seems like between the tire slip, and we might be getting a little bit of noise here from the drive shaft speed sensor because there's some spikes here that I can't quite explain. But this is our launch RPM, and at this point here where our engine to drive shaft ratio starts approaching our first gear ratio and goes horizontal. Now if I pick up on that point, we're about 0.4 seconds of slip in there, which is still maybe a little bit much, but it's actually pulling the RPM down here to almost 4,100 RPM, and ideally I'd like to see it pull down to 4,500 and no lower than that. So might want to loosen the clutch just a tiny little bit again, but you'll notice on the gear shifts now we're pulling down to 4,500, 4,800, and 4,900. So previous run we couldn't get any RPM below 5,000. The clutch would just slip. So this is an improvement, and I think there's still a little tweak that we can do. But the incrementals, if we look at the time slip, we went from a 160 to a 158 60 foot, so that improved. Overall, our ET suffered. We went from an 1192 to an 1194, and we lost a little bit of mile an hour. And that's probably because, when the tach fell off, I was guessing at the shift point. So I short shifted the 1-2 shift. I over shifted the 2-3. 3-4, I managed to get pretty much bang on, and then I over shifted 4-5. So that probably caused our loss in mile per hour and ET. But our 60 foot did improve. We're going to mount the tach back solid in the car, change absolutely nothing else, and go back there and get another run and see what that one looks like. Okay, this time for sure. So that was the best run yet. And did a hard right turn. And I don't know what that was all about. But best 60 foot, 155 and 1190, and best mile an hour, 113. So we are happy with that. And we're going to take that and go home and be happy. So that was the best run of the day. It did a hard right turn. I'm not sure what that was all about, but we still got the best 60 foot of the day, got the best mile an hour, and we got the best ET. Looking at the data log, and I'll show you a closer view of this in a minute, but it looks like the clutch was maybe a tiny little bit tight, and that could have been, I maybe put too much heat in it during the burnout or during staging, but anyway, that was a good run. We're happy with it. We're going to call it done for today. We didn't break anything. We ran really good numbers. We didn't break anything. We've got a pretty good clutch tune-up in it. Maybe, you know, a quarter turn from perfect is where we are right now. So we're happy with that. So let's load it up and let's go home in one piece. Here's our final data log. So again, red, engine RPM, green, drive shaft RPM, and yellow, engine to drive shaft ratio. So again, we're trying to launch at 5,800 RPM and we're high. We've zeroed out the data log to where the drive shaft starts moving. And again, you can see the drive shaft RPM comes up really quickly and then drops and then comes up again. So we've got some tire slip happening here, and you can see it in the clutch slip as well. So the clutch slips and hooks up here. And then we get some tire slip, and then tires hook up again, and then we get a bit of clutch slip again. So we've got some clutch slip and we've got some tire slip, and it seems like they're a bit out of phase. They're fighting each other. But again, we're trying to launch at 5,800 RPM. Here we pull the engine all the way down to 4,000 RPM, which again is a little bit less than I'd want it to be. But if we look at where the clutch first starts locking up here, we're about, you know, just a little less than 0.4 seconds now. So again, that's a pretty decent number. And if we actually look at our peak acceleration here, we're seeing about almost 1.9 G of acceleration here at the peak, 1.87. So we had a good strong launch, and you know, the shifts look good. Let me just turn that off. We've got like a tiny little bit of slip on the 1-2 shift, and then, you know, the rest of the shifts look good. Looks like I got all of the shift points basically in the right place this time. So, you know, again, there was a right turn on the starting line. Not sure what that was all about. So instead of going 60 feet, I probably went 65 feet. But if we look at the incrementals, we're down to a 155 60 foot, so that was the best one. All the other incrementals are improved. Best ET of the day, best mile per hour of the day. So even with that right turn at the launch, everything else seemed to work good. So we need to get the car up on the lift and check the chassis and make sure that everything's okay and there's nothing wrong with the car that caused it to turn right. But otherwise, I think just the tiniest little bit of clutch adjustment to loosen it up just the tiniest little bit so that we can get this to about 4,500 RPM instead of 4,000 RPM would be about perfect. So we're pretty happy. We're really, really close. And we didn't break anything. So it's all good. One last thing, just for fun, I overlaid the logs between the first run and the third run just so you can see the difference that half a turn made in the clutch. Let me just do a different color. So for the first run, our engine RPM here is the blue now, and for our third run, our engine RPM is still the red. So you could see where I dumped the clutch here, the blue is just slipping, and then it slips really badly on the 1-2 shift. On the 2-3 shift, you can see it slipping as well. And on the third run, you can see the clutch is grabbing quite a bit more. It's still slipping, but it's not anywhere near as bad as that first run. So that is half a turn of static pressure, static force, more correctly, on the clutch. So quarter turn is maybe where we need to be to split that difference. It's the next day now. I was just completely shot getting home. That was a long, hard day at the track by myself. Wish I could have got more on-track video for you guys, but again, one-man outfit. So I thank those racers that actually helped press the button on my camera. So I got a little bit on-track video for you guys. So thanks, Dave. Thanks, Carl. So we're like really close on having a perfect clutch tune in this thing right now. Again, probably a quarter turn, and it's going to be ideal. But we're really happy with the way the day went. We didn't break anything. Nothing went horribly wrong, other than losing one little segment of video, which is nothing. So how many of you at the intro of the video thought this was going to go sideways like all my videos always do? Yeah, I thought things weren't going to turn out well either, but yeah, every once in a while, you know, your bad luck takes a break. So from here on, I think we're just going to concentrate on street miles on the car, shake everything down, and in an ideal world, I'll find the strength and energy and help and get this thing to drag week this year. But again, we're really happy how things turned out at the track. So if you watched up until now, thanks for watching. As usual, like, comment if you didn't already, subscribe, ring the bell, share with your friends, and as always, be kind and be humble. See you next time. It pulls it down to, you know, not even 5,000 RPM. And this is what it's like filming a video at the racetrack. So we'll shoot that again. Waiting for the race car to stop making noise. Any minute now. This is what it's like trying to video at a racetrack. Okay, there we go.